We'd like to welcome you guys to our blip in time and space. We will be reviewing comic books and comic book related media. Welcome to our pilot. Let's get to it. In today's timeline, what I've got for you today is the death of Doctor Strange. So he has a relatively normal day. He's wondering about how people can live forever, but it's just a thought. He encounters quite a few enemies, and one of them mentions a villain called Cinnabus. And we continue on with our day. Apparently, it seems like a lot of magical dimensions are dying for whatever reason. And, well, he thinks nothing of it. His day ends, and late at night, he gets a visit by something familiar. This power just manages to take him down, apparently real quickly. And it's pretty straightforward. He dies. Then at the end of the episode, which is pretty cool, everyone's starting to mourn Doctor Strange, and out of a little portal comes a blue cape-looking Doctor Strange, which makes me think we have Doctor Strange from a different reality coming through. Apparently, Dr. Stephen Strange did something to himself many years ago, and he didn't really store his soul somewhere. He just did something in case he would die, and he did this when he was a lot younger, and suddenly we do see a little bit of a younger-looking alternate Doctor Strange. And I am extremely excited to see what goes on with this new guy. Because endless possibilities, multiverses, but the normal Doctor Strange is 100% dead. Justin?
All right. So as you kind of figured, Francis here will be handling the Marvel side of things. More of a Marvel guy than I am. I'm more of the DC side of things. So to start, we're looking at Nightwing 84. Tom Taylor. Really digging all of his stuff lately. Between Deceased and Nightwing, Superman, Son of Kal-El. But this Nightwing issue is tie into Fear State. That's why I read it. I don't read Nightwing every week, but I read this because it does tie into Nightwing, or into Fear State. So probably the best part of this whole issue was the two interactions between Nightwing and Batman and Nightwing and Batgirl. Really good father-son moment where Nightwing and Batman fight some of the magistrate forces. And then in the end, when Batgirl suits back up, she has been inactive for a while. She went back to the Oracle moniker. And that's probably where she'll end up at the end of Fear State, if not dead. But she'll probably be Oracle again. I'd be very surprised if they killed her. But overall, I'd say it was probably the best issue of Fear State so far. Batman 113 also came out this week, and it was lackluster to say the least. But we will be saving most of that Batman run for another video, as it probably warrants its own video. There's a lot to Tinian's run. But yeah, I'm going to pass it back to Francis, bring up his second book.
All right, Justin. Well, I read X-Men number 3, and I'm very excited about the new stuff that's happening with the X-Men. I mean, we got in X-Men 1 and 2, we got a new team comprised of Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine, but X-23, Rogue, Polaris, and Sunfire. So in this number 3 X-Men, we have suddenly this guy coming from space called the High Evolutionary. Of course, being happy about the X-Men finally conquering the Earth, which they're not too happy about. And they're saying they're not, but it does seem like they are, because they're taking care of everything at this moment. And they have a gift called the Nihility Spear, which is supposed to completely sterilize humanity after a generation. So this will kind of take care of the human problem for the X-Men. They're not too happy about this. They kick their asses, and the evolutionary goes away. But not before showing Jean Grey what problem lies in them for them in space. The threat from outer space is actually this guy called Cordyceps Jones, which is actually a fungi that has kind of taken care of a body, and he has this whole planet, gambling planet, And all these guys are placing bets on to see who can actually wipe out humanity. So they're just sending Omega level threats to Earth and just kind of laughing about it. It's hilarious. It is awesome.
That sounds awesome.
Then, this place is called Game World. So it's just a massive gambling world. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the X-Men deal with the whole issue of Game World. It ends with a mysterious person that actually has information on what the X-Men are doing in this little island of theirs, which is the resurrection. Nobody knows that they're all being able to come back to life. So somebody gave a reporter like a document with actual proof that they are resurrecting themselves, and the X-Men don't really want this to come out because that's their little gimmick at the moment. And then, X-Men have been extremely secretive about their resurrection stuff all throughout the Krakoa run, which is the new, mutant island where they live. And, it's pretty exciting to see a new group of X-Men, as much as I love to see Wolverine in every single issue, but I'll deal with X-23 as the current Wolverine. Threats from outer space that are just kind of being randomly sent out is pretty exciting. Back to you, Justin.
All right, so back to the DC side of things. I think my second book of the week is going to be the Batman Secret Files Miracle Molly, written by James Tynion. I only bought this because they say it was on the Fear State checklist, and I'm not really sure exactly how it ties into Fear State. It's all in the past. It's just Miracle Molly's background. But it was great. I'm not a big Tynion fan. I've enjoyed his Batman, but most of his other projects I haven't really bought into. But this one was really good, coupled with some really great art by an artist named Danny. It was just a great overall read. It is all in the past, so there's no threats to the characters. But you do get Miracle Molly's background. She appears to be a bigger player in the Fear State as we get later into it. We are only about a third of the way through right now. But we will have to see where that goes. Back to you, Francis.
All right. Well, the last book I read for this week was The Onslaught Revelation. So I'm a big fan of Onslaught because it's kind of like the mind child of Charles Xavier and Magneto. So extremely powerful, extreme badass, always just wants to kill everything. So, you know how these powers of resurrection that they're trying to keep under wraps? There's a database with all the mutants, collective, saved minds on the side. So, in the island. So, Professor X and Cerebro kind of keep this up to date. Now, Onslaught getting inside Professor X's brain, being a little weird, he makes it so these databases start getting erased. So, no more mutants coming back to life, no more paradise. And so since he's been manipulating Professor X, that would mean that some X-Men might actually die forever. Really exciting because that's how the book starts. I didn't even get to the title, and the promise of everyone dying forever just came up. So I thought, wow, this is going to be badass. So by using Legion, they put a gate inside Legion's mind, so the mutants can go from the island all the way into Legion's mind, into this huge space, and this is where they hope to defeat Onslaught, so inside somebody else's mind. So I love how they add Onslaught above all the single mutants that he's controlling. There's look at that. That's a great look of him. He's just so badass and huge, and on top of Magneto, you just see right above his head that he's being controlled. Love the art in this one. So as the resurrection backups are being deleted, they are able to track Onslaught down and lure him out. Now, Professor X is the one that's being controlled most of it. So as he runs out of his little safe room, they are in the middle of a party back in the mutant land, and apparently Onslaught was waiting for the climax of the party using the powers of Dr. Nemesis. He was going to give mushrooms to everyone in the party, yes, magic mushrooms, and make it so they'd want to kill each other. And so, we'd have a huge mutant bloodbath, and everyone would die forever. But with Nightcrawler, Legion, they are able to get Onslaught out of Professor X. Onslaught does merge with Magneto and Professor X at that time, becoming this huge monster, trying to kill everyone. But all the mutants that are helping here, like Legion and Nightcrawler, are able to get everybody else out of their mental states into Legion's head and surround Onslaught and eventually kill him altogether. Some massive, like, party, weird whirlpool of death towards Onslaught. So, after they take care of him, this new group inside Legion's head is creating some kind of, like, mutant cop thing. So, they're going to call themselves the Legionnaires. And the Legions. Legionnaires, there we go. And they're supposed to keep the peace inside the astral plane for all the mutants. So this kind of follows the whole X-Men thing of tying like 20 different books into everything that everyone reads. But it was the conclusion of the Way of X for Nightcrawler. He's been trying to found a mutant religion, and it was kind of weird because, mutants are all considered kind of gods to themselves, so it was weird. He couldn't find it, but at the end of it, he came out with the concept of the spark. So the spark is pretty much just an idea, and it's the right for mutants to pursue happiness. And if they're not allowed to pursue happiness, then the spark will burn anyone to ash that would like to oppose them. So sadly, I think the Onslaught Revelation would only be one book. It doesn't look like it's going to continue to grow, and being one of the awesome villains I like to see, that's kind of sad. But the art is amazing, some big Onslaught panels, and I just find him extremely badass. Back to you, Justin.
All right, my final book of the week is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King. This is basically a follow-up to issue 3. Issue 3, they basically find a mass genocide in this town. The Blues have slaughtered these people they call the Purples. They basically paid these people to kill them in order to have protection. That sounds strange, but that's the basics of it. Issue 4 is basically them following the trail of these people that are committing these mass murders. You get some great art once again. The book's art is like top tier, some of the best art in DC right now. In the final pages, Supergirl basically has a mental breakdown, just from seeing all this death and destruction. And there's this awesome panel of her laying in this yellow sun, just crying. But overall, great issue. It is the halfway point, and the hunt for Krem will continue in issue 5. But I think that's going to do it for the comic section of this week's episode. I think we're going to move into the episode of the week, which was What If Ultron won?
All right, we're going to start talking about What If. Justin?
Right, so I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, just because you being the Marvel guy, and this is actually the only episode of What If I've actually finished. So, Francis, what'd you think? Well, what first comes to mind when we watch this episode?
Well, I truly enjoyed the breaking of the fourth wall and having the villain here, Ultron, going after the Watcher that has been, telling us about all these stories in the previous episode. So he has to interact with something, and even though he's not supposed to.
Yeah, that was definitely a wow moment. Seeing how powerful the Watcher was. I mean, he's fighting a guy with 6 Infinity Stones and not dying. Or not immediately dying. He did get beat up pretty badly. We don't really know. He did run off, I guess, at the end. But I think for me with this episode, I think the biggest thing is James Spader's not Ultron. And I think it's pretty evident pretty early. The voice is it's just not the same. It is Ross Marquand, who is Aaron on The Walking Dead. So that is pretty cool. But he's just not as intimidating as James Spader was. And I think that happened a couple times in this episode with the voice acting. Black Widow, that was what's her name? Her name's Lake Bell. Obviously, it's not Scarlett Johansson. Being the lawsuit and everything, I'm sure that had something to do with it. But Lake Bell was Poison Ivy on the Harley Quinn animated show, and I don't know. I just can't see her as Black Widow. That was another thing that sticks out immediately to me. But what else you got?
So yeah, I see where you're coming from there. Yeah, he didn't seem as menacing, Ultron. I mean, he was extremely powerful, and the new little suit he gets once he gets all Infinity Stones is pretty badass.
The character design was definitely on point this episode.
Also the explosions. I must say, I love the explosions. Seeing the Avengers get completely destroyed, and all the nukes coming down and deleting humanity.
That was quite good. And then again, when he's throwing the Watcher through different realities and visions, and they're like breaking glass. That was quite cool as well. Watching characters switch from humans to cavemans to Skrulls. There's a very quick montage in the middle of that. I thought that was very.
Yeah, the fights spanning multiple realities and timelines are always going to be a favorite here.
Then of course the Thanos fight.
I was going to say that like a few
5 seconds at most. That was definitely that was hilarious.
Yeah, like a little show and what you guys should have done when you saw the guy the first time. Right, you should have
just full on murdered him.
Yeah, not even a second. Just there it is. He's there and he gets cut in half with laser vision. Very intense. So yeah, towards the end we get to see evil Doctor Strange with, again, I love the evil characters, and he was in a previous What If.
I believe he was in episode 5. I started watching that episode.
And yeah, I would have liked that the episode would have continued for a little longer. He's got some awesome powers, and being together with the Watcher, really hope that he would have let loose a little bit more.
Yeah, this feels like it could be a two-parter. Either this season or maybe something next season. But I feel like with the Watcher being directly involved, they will probably continue this story.
Well, let's hope so. All right, so
yeah, I don't have much else to add in terms of What If. Overall, decent episode. Voice acting, I thought, was not the best casting. I don't know. That's just my opinion on that one. But I think I think we're gonna get right to the next segment of our show, which DC Fandome is October 16th. So I think we have a few predictions we'd like to make on that. We'll be having a breakdown. We'll be talking about the whole Fandome event when that comes out in about 3 weeks. But I think we want to get our predictions in. And mostly there's 4 things that we really want to talk about. 3 of them are movies. The first one I think is being the Batman. That one is up first. That comes out in March.
Yeah, let's see. The new Robert Pattinson's Batman. We've been excited for that for quite a bit. I mean, mixed reviews online, but until...
We got our first trailer last event, and that was 25% way through production. So the second trailer should be a full trailer. Production's almost done. Reshoots just finished up, so
yeah, seeing a darker, more broody Batman, more of a detective, and a lot of anger. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, I think I don't know if anger is the right word. I almost wonder if it's passion, because I think Ben Affleck's Batman was quite angry, but this Batman seems very passionate about Gotham City to the point where he's just gonna take it out on random goons.
And that would be nice to see.
Right. And yeah.
So what else have we got on the Fandome?
So next up we would have, I believe it's Black Adam would follow. The Rock was cast as Black Adam over 8 years ago. So this movie's been in the ether quite some time. They have cast every member of, or not every member, but most members of the Justice Society. So we know he won't be the only comic character here. Dr. Fate, Atom Smasher, Hawkman, and several others will be joining him. So I definitely think we'll see a trailer for that. I'd be shocked with Yeah, I definitely think we'll see a trailer. That's kind of that. They did buy a like $100,000 camera for this movie, like this new, they call it the arm. And the way it's designed, the way it shoots is supposed to be, unique, game changing for cinema in general. So we'll see what that looks like.
All right. Well, what about the Flash? I mean, we're due for another good Flash movie.
It has been almost 60. Sorry, it will be almost, by the time the Flash comes out, it will be over 5 years since we've seen Flash in the movies. Last was the Justice League movie. So I think the Flash will be the restarting point for DC. I think they can take this movie as an opportunity to remove things they don't like if they want to just leave Zack Snyder behind. This would be the movie to do it, with time travel and alternate realities and that sort of thing.
Yeah, start from the beginning if you really want to, and choose the pieces that you like. Have we seen like different Batmans in the little sneak peeks, or have people been talking about it?
So it has been confirmed Michael Keaton will be returning from the '89 Batman movie as Bruce Wayne and Batman, as well as Ben Affleck. Whether they'll be on screen at the same time or one will be in like a different universe has yet to be seen. We have seen some behind the scenes, which looks to be Ben Affleck's Batman, riding a motorcycle around. So we'll see what that brings. The other rumor with this movie is that Barry Allen is also the villain. So not quite a reverse Flash, but Barry Allen himself is the villain. And yeah, that's what we know about the Flash so far. They're still in production, so not sure on a trailer for that one. But yeah, I think the final thing we have to talk about is Suicide Squad to Kill the Justice League. In the Arkhamverse, the next video game set there, looks like the 4 playable characters are going to be King Shark, Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, and Deadshot. And we got basically an animation last Fanzone. Basically just introduced us that this game was coming out. But being a year later, I would expect some amount of gameplay. Maybe a release date? Maybe?
That would be pretty cool. I mean, okay, well, that wraps up DC Fanzone.
Yeah, there will definitely be other things announced, other things showing, Aquaman 2, Shazam 2. But we will be breaking that down in our future episode when we talk solely about Fanzone.
Oh, that sounds good. As the last thing here, I just want to say that Venom, Let There Be Carnage, is out. And we should see it and bring you guys a little review come next week or the week after.
Definitely be having a video out about that. Tom Hardy will reprise Eddie Brock, and Woody Harrelson as Carnage, Cletus Cassidy. So they have confirmed a 93-minute runtime for that movie. So it is going to be, from start to finish, it's going to be fast. It's going to be actiony, not a lot of moments of just, okay, let's take a step back and focus on characters.
I mean, by now everyone knows what they're doing. So, I mean, Carnage is going to come in, tear some stuff apart, and it should be an awesome story. I mean, Venom is one of my favorite characters, with the Wolverine. So I can't wait to see what they have in store.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up our pilot episode, unless you got anything to add.
Yeah, no, I think that will be it from us here in today's timeline. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And
make sure you guys hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week. Links to our Facebook and Twitter will be also in the description. We'll be talking other things as they're announced before we get to before they get on the show. So if you guys want to keep up to date with us, let us know what you thought. What are your predictions for Fanzone? And what about What If? What do you guys think about this week's episode? Any other comics we should be reading? Any comics you guys recommend? Let us know. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for this week.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for listening, watching, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe.